Envigor.
Aged care. It's something most of us have to face sometime or another. However, what are the options? Community living, living in your own home, or retirement village? Well, what's the difference? With me on the phone to talk about this is Tracey Silvester, and Tracey is the Executive Officer with aged care provider Envigor. Tracey, what's the difference between retirement villages and community living?
Well, there's not a lot of difference. It's just more the environment that you're living in. If you make a decision to move into, say, a retirement village, for a lot of people that's really a lifestyle choice, and acknowledging that retirement villages on the whole are pretty much more set up actually to manage the needs of people as they get older. So, the houses or the villas or the apartments or whatever style the village is are usually a little bit more sensitive to the needs of older people. And obviously then in a retirement village situation, you are in an environment where you have often surrounded by like-minded people. So there is that social interaction that you would get living in a retirement village as opposed to community living, which a lot of people still relate to living in their own home out in the suburbs. But in a retirement village, it's still your own home. The difference, I guess, is more a choice that people make in terms of where they want to live as they get older.
Tracey, does this model support singles also?
Yes, it does. And in fact, the statistics are really interesting across the country. There are a lot of people living in retirement villages who are single, either because they have been widowed or because they have been a lifelong single. And obviously we know the impact of social isolation as we get older is almost as bad from a health perspective as things like obesity and smoking. So if a single person is living in their own home out in the community, as they get older, they are more likely to be socially isolated because they don't have a spouse or a partner generally. So if they move into a retirement village situation, the great thing for them is that they get that social interaction that they wouldn't have otherwise got.
Tracey, what should a person consider before entering into this type of living? Given that there's schemes around to help elderly people actually stay in their own homes for as long as possible.
Yes, if you move into a retirement village, you are able to or eligible to access any of the government-supported community care options that are available. So just because you're moving into a retirement village doesn't mean that you aren't eligible for those sorts of things. And sometimes it can be a little bit easier to receive those services because your apartment perhaps is, or your unit or whatever it is a bit smaller than your family home. So your government funding bucket does go a little bit further for some of those practical bits of support that you might receive. And in fact, some people just don't really need that support because they can get, say, the social interaction through bus trips and the like through the retirement village that they're living in. So really it's anybody. What we say, however, is for people to not leave those decisions too late. What we see sometimes is people who have been, delaying a decision to downsize from their family home, and they've sometimes left it too late, where perhaps if it's a couple, one member of the couple really does need a lot more care than the traditional retirement village can offer. Now, as the retirement village sector matures, we are seeing a lot more providers building some care options into their retirement village offerings. So what I would say to people is, if you are thinking about that sort of accommodation, really think very seriously about what you would like your choices to be as you age, particularly if you age and you need care services.
Tracey, are there any figures on the percentage of people that enter into retirement villages or the community living as opposed to staying in their own home?
The majority of people still stay in their own home. There's definitely the scales are still weighted in people living in their own homes and then potentially needing residential aged care as opposed to moving into retirement villages. But you've really just got to look at the number of retirement villages being built around the place to know that the market sees that as a viable alternative for people as they age. And I think we'll see some changes to the way retirement villages are operated into the future. As I said before, more operators are moving into providing care services as part of their offering within a retirement village type of accommodation environment. As the government moves to implement a policy around consumer-directed care in residential aged care, then that does open the door for residential aged care, or as what we currently see as nursing homes, to perhaps change their model a little bit and for perhaps that type of care to be provided in a retirement living situation.
Okay, well, let's talk about the benefits now. So what are the benefits of aged care community living for couples and singles?
Well, I think it depends on the type of retirement village or community living type of arrangement you move into. I talked before about the social interaction, and I think that probably, from my perspective and my experience, I see that as the number one factor for people. I've had personal experience with friends, plus with the work that we do. People might be initially quite reluctant because it does require them to move out of their family home of 40, 50, 60 years. That change can be quite confronting for people. But once they move in and they see that there's the opportunity to make friendships, and as I said before, to be socially connected, a lot of operators now are offering a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week emergency call system so that, people have got that security, that they know that if they have a fall at 2 o'clock in the morning, they've got their little alarm pendant and they can press that and someone will come. And then there is the broader security thing, and most villages now have got quite good security systems in place so that people are a little bit more secure. Their risk, I suppose, from a break-in perspective or something like that is reduced. So I think there's more benefits. As I said before, the accommodation is often a lot more sensitive to the needs of people as they age as well. So, they're often on one level. You don't have the tyranny of, 15 stairs up the front and 20 stairs down the back. So it can be a great option for people who perhaps aren't as steady on their feet or are worried about their mobility.
Well, Tracey, how does the care actually work?
So in most of the communities where there is a care offering, either through an external provider coming in or the arrangement that we have, it's a community care model of care. So people who live in those environments access the various government subsidised funding programs that are around through My Aged Care, which is the gateway for everybody to receive aged care services in Australia. So really it's no different for people in terms of the care than if they were living in their own home. Some of the benefits, however, is if you move into a village where there is a care provider on site and where that care provider is on site a lot of the time, because you don't have the workers travelling from one person's house to the next, you're reducing the travel time that they've got, and you can get a little bit more out of your government-funded package than if you're reliant on a provider coming in from elsewhere. So there are some benefits, and as I said earlier, a lot of providers are now looking at having partnerships with care providers or providing the care themselves because they've realised that that is actually a value add for their residents, that if there is a care service available to residents that the retirement village operator has vetted and support, that the residents actually do get a better deal out of their community care funding.
And what are the types of care that people can access?
They can really access anything. It does depend on where their care is funded. So obviously there are always the option of self-funding, and there are a lot of self-funded retirees and an increasing number of self-funded retirees around. So for them, really it is a case of what they're prepared to pay for or what they can afford to pay for. Then you've got all the government funding programs. Now for those programs, there's a number of service types that are fairly standard regardless of where your care is funded. So it's things like domestic assistance, which is your traditional housework, helping you do the washing, making sure that your floors are clean, all those sorts of things. Then we move through to things like personal care, which is helping you have a shower, making sure that, you get your hair washed and things like that, making sure, if you need assistance to go to the bathroom. Then you move into things like social support, which is taking people shopping, taking them out for a lunch, for a meal. Some people actually can't get out for a meal unless they're accompanied. They might have a significant mobility issue, so they actually require assistance to get to their social activities. And of course, importantly, we want people to remain socially connected as they age, right through to respite services. So if you have a couple and one member of the couple can't be left alone for whatever reason, they might have dementia, they might be unsafe if they're left alone. So it's respite care where a carer will come and sit with the person while the spouse who doesn't require the care goes out to do the shopping or just goes and plays bowls or whatever. Or you can have centre-based respite where the person requiring the care goes out for the day, and that gives them some social interaction. And then it's right through to palliative care and end-of-life care. So as people age and they're requiring that. So really there is a very, very broad suite of services that people can access regardless of where they live and as they age.
And they can choose any level of care they require.
Yes, so the level of care that they receive if they're using government-funded services is part of an assessment that the aged care assessment team does. So the dollar value attached to their care is assessed, and you've got the home care packages, which is levels 1 to 4, with 1 being the lowest and the 4 being the highest. But within that dollar value, and since the government has introduced the consumer-directed care policy framework for community care, people can choose within that dollar value what they receive and what they actually want and need. So it is very much up to the consumer as to what they use.
Okay, Tracey, is there an Envigor care team in the far north?
There is. So up in Cairns there, we've got the lovely Karen Gerard. She's been there for just on 2 years now.
Okay.
And she is a local Cairns lady. She knows everything that's going on in Cairns on any given day and is very, very happy to talk to people about what might be possible for them with their care. So, if anybody's got any questions, I guess I would encourage them to give Karen a call. She can be reached through our 1300 number, which is 1300 368 446.
Yep.
Or on our website, through our website, which is envigor.com.au.
People just Google Envigor and Cairns will come up on that site. And there's another website too I've come across, seasonsagedcare.com.au.
So Seasons is our retirement living or retirement community partner. We've got 7 Seasons communities basically around the southeast corner of Queensland at the moment. Yep. But if there's anybody listening who's got a friend or a family member who lives down this way, as far north Caloundra, and then down as far as Waterford, which is down in Logan. And we're just about to open our brand new village or our community out at Cinnamon Park. And it's a beautiful, lovely, lovely 3, 2 and 1 bedroom retirement or aged care community. So haven't got any Seasons communities in the far north yet, but we've certainly got Karen on the ground up there, and she's certainly very happy to support people.
All right. Well, thanks for your time today, Tracey.
You're welcome. Thanks, Larry.
I've been talking to Tracey Silvester, and Tracey is the Executive Officer with aged care provider Envigor. So if you want to know more about aged care, you can check out those websites, seasonsagedcare.com.au or Google envigor.com for the Cairns area, and that 1300 number is 1300 368 446.
Envigor.